Do you have free will? Most people hear free will and think about the body doing what it wants. Traveling, buying, shouting, voting, choosing partners, picking careers. But those are forms. What matters is content. Content lives in the mind, not in the body. If there is only one creation, there is only one will. That changes the whole question. In order to feel free, you first have to believe you were captured. The ego invents a captor so it can stage a jailbreak. It yells, "You better let me go," and then points to an empty hallway. Free from what? Free to do what? If you turn around and nothing is there, the chain was a story, not a fact. A Course in Miracles teaches, free will does not mean that you can establish the curriculum. You enroll in a university, but you do not write the degree plan. You choose when to take the courses and with which teacher, but you do not design Truth 101. Reality is the curriculum. Your only choice is the teacher who interprets everything you see. Pick the ego, and the course feels hard, personal, and endless. Pick the Holy Spirit, and the same course becomes simple and gentle. A Course in Miracles teaches, this requires God's endowment of the Son with free will, because all loving creation is freely given in one continuous line, in which all aspects are of the same order. That sentence ends the argument about 8 billion wills. Creation is one line. Will is one. When we talk about my will versus your will, we are arguing over shadows inside one light. Look at how the world defines freedom and notice the confusion. Political freedom, economic freedom, personal autonomy, self-sufficiency, the right to be respected as an individual. These can be useful in the world, but they all depend on separation and conflict. Who decides what a good choice is? Whose values win when values collide? If freedom depends on winning a fight, it is not freedom, it is advantage. A Course in Miracles teaches, in reality this is your only choice because your free will was given you for your joy in creating the perfect. Free will points one way, toward joy in what is perfect and already given. If your freedom points to attack, control, or anxiety, you are not using free will, you are using fear. A Course in Miracles teaches, free will must lead to freedom. If your choices leave you tense, divided, and exhausted, they are not free. Real freedom does not need to be defended, stretched, proven, or polished. Freedom that needs help is a costume, not a fact. A Course in Miracles teaches, that is why the ego is the denial of free will. The ego tries to use freedom to make separation real. It says, I am free because I can choose against you. But choosing against the whole only hurts your own mind. A Course in Miracles teaches, if this is the result of his own free will, he must regard his will as not free, or the circular reasoning in this position would be quite apparent. Here is the circle made simple. If you claim you freely chose to be unfree, then your will was never free. A free will cannot produce bondage, because effects must match their cause. You cannot pour water and get fire. You cannot use light to create darkness. So you cannot use free will to invent chains. A Course in Miracles teaches, in the service of the right mind, the denial of error frees the mind and re-establishes the freedom of the will. This is practical. Stop agreeing with thoughts that say you are trapped, behind, guilty, or late. Refuse the error not with force but with quiet certainty, and the mind remembers it was free all along. Let's ground this with simple pictures. The foxhole test. If you are pinned down, do you care about the body's labels, sizes, or flags? Or do you care about whether the mind beside you knows the way out? That is content over form. The prison door test. The ego screams at the lock, does rituals and writes manifestos, while the Holy Spirit points to the open door 5 feet away. That is awareness over drama. The classroom test. You did not create yourself, so you do not set the curriculum of reality, but you do choose when to learn peace, and with whom. Pick the teacher who already knows you are whole, and the lessons shorten. A Course in Miracles teaches this may appear to contradict free will because of the inevitability of the final decision, but this is not so. The end is certain because only truth is true. You will accept it because it is what you are. Inevitability here is not force, it is recognition. A Course in Miracles teaches awakening unto Christ is following the laws of love of your free will and out of quiet recognition of the truth in them. Notice the word quiet, not strain, not effort, not heroic willpower. Quiet recognition ends the hunt for freedom in places it does not live. The world keeps trying to free the mind by moving bodies around. But the mind was never held by a body. You cannot free the sky by rearranging clouds. You cannot free the ocean by pushing waves. Freedom is the stillness that remains when you stop fighting what already is. So do you have free will, not as a private rival power that can make up truth, but as the share in God's will that cannot be broken, threatened, or split. Free will is not the right to attack. It is the power to accept, not the license to make your own reality. The readiness to recognize reality, not permission to separate. The willingness to love. When you stop pretending you are captured, you stop needing to get free. You rest. You create with joy. You see innocence everywhere, and you remember the only will there ever was. Submitted for your approval, a traveler convinced that freedom was a door with 1,000 locks and 1,000 keys. He rattled every handle and shouted at every shadow, never noticing the open space where a wall was supposed to be. Tonight he discovers that the prison was a picture, the chains were a rumor, and the warden was a mask he wore to frighten himself awake. The sentence is lifted, not by a pardon, but by a simple turn of the head toward light. Welcome to the only country that never moved an inch, the quiet territory of what is otherwise known as the zone. And here is the final key. Anything that comes from God is only one and always one. One sun, one mind, one will, one goal. This is the litmus test of love's domain. You only need it once. And need belongs in quotation marks, because even that need is only an appearance. If it comes from God, it must work right out of the box. It cannot be broken, delayed, or improved upon. It only needs to be recognized for what it already is.